Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Commonwealth Home Ownership Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is Phil Wong. With me, as always, is Brad Price. And today, joining us, we have Dustin Hogan, who is a men's mental wellness counselor.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to it. I think it's such an important topic to discuss, like you mentioned, especially as entrepreneurs, because we're not following the same kind of 9 to 5. We take our work with us to bed. It's there with us in the morning. It's there with us on the weekends. There's really no separating our lives from the work that we're doing. And while there's so many benefits to that, the flip side or the other side of that coin is oftentimes, entrepreneurs are significantly more stressed and dealing with things like mental health challenges than the general population, just because of the pressure that we put on ourselves. Grew up in Calgary, and then when I got working, started a landscaping business and built that up in the early 2000s. It was quite successful, but I wasn't inspired by it. I was just in it to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, I wanted to be doing something where I was getting up and excited about it. So at the same time that I was doing the landscaping business on the side, like my side hustle was DJing. So I was DJing all around Calgary at nightclubs. I was driving one day to a landscaping job and realized, what would happen if I put the same amount of effort into something I was passionate about as I am putting into this business. So packed up my life in Calgary, sold the landscaping business, sold my house, moved out to Vancouver, which is where I'm at right now, to go to music production school. And then when I graduated from music school, I actually started teaching DJing and music production at a high school here in Vancouver, a school that catered to highly anxious kids that had a real struggle in the traditional high school stream. So I was so much passion, and I loved going into working with these students. And although I was teaching them DJing and music production, I was really teaching them about life skills. So this was my first step in the coaching world, so to speak, even though I didn't really know what a coach was at that time, or didn't even know I was coaching. But looking back, recognizing that that's what I was doing. So working at that school and working with kids for a couple of years, then I branched out, and then I actually started to pursue some coaching and speaking, started a series of workshops here in Vancouver, did that for about 3 or 4 years, pivoted that business because it wasn't taking off the way that I wanted it to. Started speaking actually on behalf of another organization here in Vancouver. And from 2018 till almost 2020 was traveling all around Canada delivering presentations in schools again, but it was on social media and being safe online. And for me, it was such a powerful experience getting the chance to be in schools and talk to students about this stuff. But I also recognized the impact that it was making on my mental health, just because it was a grind. I mean, I was on the road doing upwards of, like, some weeks I did 25 presentations in a week. And as much as I loved the work, it just drained me, from the travel to the volume of presentations that I was doing to the intensity of the content. Because a lot of the times I'd have to go into these schools because there was a bullying incident on Instagram, for example, that led to like a suicide. And it was heavy. It was heavy having to go in to have these conversations. And right around 2019, the end of 2019, that's when my mental health absolutely plummeted, dealing with intense anxiety, intense depression, even suicidal ideation. Like it was pretty intense. So I made the decision to kind of step back from everything that I was doing from a career standpoint, really ground myself and prioritize my own healing. And in that process, realized that I wanted to help others going through similar situations. And that's when I made the decision to pursue counseling. And it's been like a combination of all of these different life experiences now coming together to getting the chance to do what I'm doing right now as a men's mental wellness counselor. So yeah, it's been this like pinball journey getting to where I am right now, and some setbacks, some comebacks, some failures, some successes, and here we are today. I got into this helping field not necessarily knowing who I wanted to serve, but in the back of my mind knowing that I potentially wanted to serve who I was 4 or 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Somebody that's driven, that's motivated, that wants to focus on their personal improvement, their, personal development. I certainly see a lot of myself in the clients that I'm working with, people that are motivated, that are determined, that are driven, yet are still struggling with potentially some mental health issues, anxiety, depression, stress, self-esteem challenges, these types of things. So stuff that I've dealt with over the years. those are the kind of people that I've been working with. It's been fascinating to see, especially those that are entrepreneurs, how much pressure we put on ourselves to succeed, because ultimately we're the only ones that we're accountable to.
Is there a common denominator you're seeing?
Yeah, so the self-care piece is huge. And it's a lack of self-care, and it's a lack of understanding what self-care is. Self-care can be as simple as, before you're going into a meeting or presentation, just taking 5 minutes to close your eyes and just to focus in on your breath. But then the big thing, and I know you guys will agree with this, is consistency. And it's the same thing when it comes to business. If you're not making sales calls, you're not going to make sales. Even if you can spend 5 minutes a day just focusing on something that's truly for yourself, you're going to see long-term benefits. As we get more stressed out, our window shrinks and shrinks and shrinks when the smallest thing sends you off. As we increase that window, we increase our capacity to be able to deal with the challenges that we face. The big recommendation I have when I'm working with clients is just like baby steps. You want it to become habitual the same way that brushing our teeth is, right? It's like we don't think about it. We know we got to do it. The first sign that you may need self-care is asking yourself, do I need self-care? A counselor, a therapist is not there to provide advice. Like, I'm not there to provide advice for my clients. I'm really there as like a collaborator and a contributor to the path that they're on, asking the right questions at the right times for you to be able to come to your understanding. But the cool thing is once you start to see a little bit of that momentum build, you start feeling a bit more grounded, a little bit clearer, those types of things, then you recognize that you are building towards something. There's not like necessarily a finish line, because there's always new ways that we can grow. However, you start to build that capacity to just deal with the stresses of life. You recognize that it is about that like long-term vision. So, I mean, first and foremost is just recognizing that being an entrepreneur can be a lonely path, right? I mean, for you guys, like you've got a partner that you can bounce ideas off of, but for many entrepreneurs out there, they're rocking that solopreneur journey. So it really comes down to those individuals that are just running a one-man or a one-woman show, to make sure that you've got a support system around you, to get connected to communities like the ones that you guys are building. Because that's another unfortunate thing about entrepreneurship, is the only people that understand the journey that you're on is other entrepreneurs. There's nothing more challenging than trying to describe what you did during your day to somebody that is just a 9-to-5er. Because they don't understand. What do you mean you answered emails for 4 hours and had a meeting, right? Like these things don't compute. And then the second thing is just, as I know, as hard as it is going to be, to really just recognize that it is a long-term journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And yes, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be comebacks, there's going to be pivots, but just recognizing that if you just keep that long-term vision in mind, you're going to get there eventually. Like, I even think about just the last 5 years with my business, right? I went from hosting my own workshops to traveling around Canada to speaking, to going back and getting educated as a coach and a counselor, and launching my counseling practice. And that's in a span of 5 years, right? And there's this line from Tony Robbins that I always remind myself of, and it's this: we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. And I think it really ties into that idea of delayed gratification, right? Just have that long-term vision in mind, and you're going to get where you need to go. It may not happen in the timeline that you want, it may not happen to the level of success that you want right away. But to me, quitting is when you give up. And if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're going to get there at some point.
If somebody wants to reach out, mate, and have a conversation with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can check me out on my website. It's dustinhogan.com. You can find me on Instagram at I am the authentic man. And yeah, reach out to me. Happy to jump on a call, discovery call, whatever it looks like, but happy to support in any way I can.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks guys. Really appreciate it.